Amen. Matty!
Yo!
Bugle blast,
JP.
baby boy. Welcome.
Good to see you.
Welcome to the Trombone. Good to see you too, man. Thank you for coming in. Matty, I mean, very, very talented actor, very talented improviser, voiceover artist. I was thinking about this. Did you actually meet my brother before you met me? Or did we meet?
I was actually just telling Eileen, my girlfriend, this just this week. I was like, yeah, I met your brother in acting class years ago before I met you.
That's so
surreal.
Yeah.
In that weird small world.
It is. It is a weird small world. I had dinner with Steven last night, and we were kind of talking about it. And, I mean, he loves you. And,
how is little Stevie?
dude, he's doing great, man. Yeah, we had some fried chicken. He's doing really well, yeah. But it was, it's just so funny, man. Because, like, once you've kind of known someone and you hang out with them and stuff, it's sort of, in the years go by, you kind of move past that moment of, how did I meet this person? How do I know them?
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
For real. Like, because you and I met totally separate from your brother. It was like different little friend groups.
Yeah.
Which were still in the acting world, acting community.
Yeah.
But it was later on that I connected, like, oh, those two Phillipses are brothers. I got it.
That's real. That's us.
Yeah. Whoa.
Man, well, I'm super pumped.
Dude, yeah, same.
This is going to be super rowdy.
Such a cool project you got going on.
Dude, thank you, man. I have really, Matt was actually a part of the very first campaign I ever played in. At that point in time, I think you were one of the few people that had some like gameplay experience at the table.
Very little, I had my first games were 3 games that started at once, and ours was number 2.
Oh,
so I joined 3 tables at the same time, so I had experience, but it was like happening while we were still learning that one.
Got you.
Yeah.
That can be an intense moment in time.
Yeah.
Well, I kind of just want to like toss this out as an Easter egg because it was absolutely mind-blowing to me. Matt essentially played a life cleric, and the way that we were, sort of setting up the campaign, which is, like fairly common, was some version of the multiple pairs would come in and would be part of the same, kind of same backstory. And
Converging storylines.
Exactly, which is a super smart way to do it. I feel like that helps DMs kind of root the world and helps parties have some alliances, you
don't have like 4 to 8 people meeting in a bar randomly all of a sudden.
Exactly.
In a tavern,
Exactly, because it's kind of fun to have groups of people be like, kind of cliquish, right? And sort of be like, do we trust them? Do we trust them? Like, what's going on? But anyway, so Matt and I played, and in our characters' backstories were intertwined, which was a massive gift to me. And Matt ended up playing a gnomish life cleric. In full pursuit and support of the god Eldath. But what always blew my mind, man, was essentially the fact that you had you didn't like create a hit point, like you didn't do any damage for quite some time.
Very little. I think like twice I may have swung a fist, or once I swung a mace or something out of just pure anger. But Levandathal, the small, known as Tall for short, he did not. He was a pacifist.
Yeah.
He didn't want any violence, and
Yeah.
he discouraged it if possible. But he learned to let people live and do their own thing. But he himself would not partake if he could help it. And most of the time, he was successful.
You pulled it off, man. I'm not sure how that was done, but you pulled it off.
Yeah, I thought it'd be funny just to try and play a D&D character that doesn't ever do violence. I don't know if I'll ever do it again because it was really frustrating. I wanted to hit a lot of things.
Dude, I don't know how the heck you possibly did that. Yeah.
It was fun. All supports, buffs, lots of buffs and banes.
It was definitely very impressive. But it wasn't. It was the type of thing that I didn't realize until retrospect, like how impressive it was. Like to me, like I really was literally reflecting on that like this week even, where I kind of was like, man, like especially because a bunch of rookies, like everyone's like doing like cliche, like murdered parents, edgelord rogue, whatever it would be, and I mean myself very much included, and it was just really. I just was unaware of how against the grain Levandathal was.
I guess so. Yeah. I mean,
You know.
like I said, I joined 3 groups at once. So I was like, well, how can I do something different with this one?
Sure.
So I was like, I'm playing in 2 others, so those are going to kill people. So let's try something new and let my friends do all the killing, because that's what they want to do.
Dude, that's
and
so
I'll try
spooky.
this other thing.
It's so spooky. So
Blast.
spooky. Okay.
I still have like, maybe someday I'll DM, and I've got ideas of getting that band back together and bringing them through Tall's backstory a little bit, back into his hometown or something.
Dude, I would love that.
Vague ideas of doing that. We'll see.
I've
never
love
DM'd
that.
before, and I'm very intimidated by it.
Well, you would be a
We'll
great
see.
one, like we talked about a little bit before stream. I mean, I think
Yeah,
your
I
understanding of
hope
the
so.
game and whatnot. But enough about that, man. Enough about that.
Enough about that.
about my love of Matt and his
Let's
love
get
of
into
I.
my character
death. Let's die, dude. Yes. It is time. What we're doing here today is I essentially have been running a largely homebrewed campaign. We're moving past year 2. We're flying through the 3rd act. They're all basically level 12, and they are, very much kind of rapidly approaching the conclusion of some storylines, of some arcs. And what I did, I guess, in about February or March of this year was ask Matt to come in as a surprise. We normally play on Zoom, but to more or less join the party, completely unannounced, as a sort of gray area figure. When they first were introduced to Cierre, she was actually like in league with some known enemies to the party. The party's known as the Storm Chasers. And over the next 3, 4, 5 sessions, a really interesting game of cat and mouse sort of played out. Cierre, the character, is drawn from the Silver Marches 3rd edition PDF. And what's up, D man? Good seeing you, man. Appreciate you rolling through. I bet you know Silver Marches. But it is a really interesting campaign book, and Cierre is designed to be a Drow Spy. And within the world of my campaign, the Drow are sort of forced out of the Underdark, are very much caught between a rock and a hard place in terms of their own kind of lineage and their own geographical location. And it's forcing them to kind of make some moves. Part of that is Cierre going to the surface. Part of that has been her tracking this party. And then part of it, last time we saw her, was her literally stealing from the possession of the Storm Chasers what's called the List of True Names, which, again, if you're familiar with 2nd edition, 3rd edition, it is an artifact that is known to contain the true names of the demon lords of hell. And the command and knowledge of those names can give one command and control over said demons. So, extremely powerful artifact. The Drow, of course, are, 20 plus miles beneath the surface, very much on their way towards the Nine Hells. And so having this sort of artifact is very much a defensive kind of option for them. Cierre has now returned to Menzoberranzan, the seat of Drow power, the capital, deep within sort of the earth and mountainside. You've been there for about 4 days, moving towards 5. And on this morning, Cierre, you awoke to a more or less a message being communicated, the sort of ruffling of paper sliding beneath wood and stone, as you saw a piece of parchment being slid beneath your door. It was a summons from the mage Umbridge, who's very much one of the high seers of the Drow, and very much your kind of first in command. You spend a lot of your time, of course, in the field as a double agent, sort of above ground, on the surface level, seeing what you can see, taking in information as you can, and acting, of course, as an asset for Drow intention. Now, yesterday, Matt and I were kind of catching each other up to speed in terms of, Cierre. I haven't actually played with Cierre in about 4 months. So, it's been one of those things where I more or less was catching her up on options she has for the last 3 days and what she wants to do moving forward. It ended up that she essentially saw on the 3rd day of her return to Menzoberranzan a flock of ravens descend from the sky. And it looked almost like a foul cloud of vapors. I mean, such was the size, but the asymmetry and the violence of the movement was unlike any possible cloud formation. Plus, there simply aren't clouds in the Underdark. So as this sort of flock of ravens descended across the city, it caught the attention of many denizens of Menzoberranzan. You saw Cierre they're actually called an unkindness of ravens, which is sort of weird, but like they sort of fly into the very top of this tower. And this tower is very much a mainstay in sort of the lore of the north side of Menzo. It's known as the Tower of Blood, kind of like a decrepit building in a suburban neighborhood. There's all kinds of rumors that have popped up around this space. It's haunted. It's the site of multiple murders. It's cursed. But you, however, Cierre, know, as of less than about a year and a half ago, on one of your longer kind of stays in Menzoberranzan before again returning to the surface and your work there, you know that the top of this Tower of Blood is actually the home to a twisted old crone, a woman of unknown, presumably nefarious background, and of extremely intense and black power. You had used your skill as a multi-class rogue ranger, capable of second story work, to climb to the top of this near 600-foot tower. On your previous visit, you had scaled the top without much harassment and then peered inside to see this crone almost in the middle of a seance. Her body partially weightless, her eyes and neck rolled back and vapid. And you crept within, finding components, multiple flasks exactly, and left with a potion of fly, one that very much aided you in your travels. Having seen this unkindness of Raven's return, you put two and two together, presuming that perhaps the crone has returned with more baubles to be had. So up the tower you went, and as you scaled up it, you got about 200 feet up before sort of erupting with a cacophony of wings and chaos. This visage of ever-moving black sphere sort of descended from the top of this tower, and as you saw it draw closer, you started to move laterally, successfully making your acrobatics save and moving out of the direct, sort of dangerous sightline of this descending flock. As it drew closer, you saw it wasn't just ravens. It was dozens of bats, imps, crows, a mixture of winged monstrosities. And as you continued upward towards your purpose in the window atop, you heard the cries of pain and perhaps bloodshed beneath you. Now, once you got to the very top of this tower, you were about 600 feet up, you peered within and you saw sort of, mumbling to herself within the actual, space of this tower, the crone herself. She was somewhat manic, almost like smashing components from small pouches and moving them into a pewter bowl atop the centermost table. You saw her grinding these components, occasionally picking out and removing bits, and then tossing this finely ground substance into a roiling fire. You could see hanging within the space jars and vials, many of them attached with what appeared to be twine, making use of kind of the vertical space within this area. You waited for a moment whenever her back was turned, and you began to descend. And as you descended, you heard this woman almost laughing to herself.
Oh, to be a queen. To be a queen again. Let them come for my child then. Let them come for him now that he is risen in the bloom of power and blood.
And you see her almost like splashing the components, once she's ground them, into the actual roiling of this kind of rolling pot. You climbed down and you rolled a nat 20 on your stealth check. You moved into the kind of ground floor of this space. You felt this carpet of cobwebs. I mean, either she is okay living in filth, or this crone is never here.
Telkun, my son.
You hear her sort of crooning as she moves in this almost dance, moving the material components of whatever purpose she's working towards.
Begat of fire and fiend.
You duck behind an overturned set of crates. And you're like, shit, is that flesh? Fuck, don't worry about it. You see 2 potions in front of you and you went to the nearest. With a 28 stealth, you get there. And you reach the flask. but with a failed sleight of hand check, you're unable to secure it, release it from its sort of twined holder, using the vertical space of this area. So you cut it with your short sword. And as you slid the blade across the twine, it gave instantly, and you began to pocket this potion. And as you did, you heard as the twine audibly slapped against the very top, almost like it recoiled like a lengthened spring. The potion removed, the tautness gone. You heard the crone stop. She looks and takes 2 slow steps towards your direction. She's still about 20 feet away from you. You get the feeling, with your 28 stealth check, that you have not immediately been seen.
Oh.
But something has been heard.
Oh, I have not been immediately seen. Oh. That kind of changes things. What's around me that I can hide behind?
Any number of things. It is a very, I mean, it's almost like being in a forgotten attic.
Sure. If that's the case, I'm going to hide.
Okay. Give me a stealth check.
Yep. Ooh, that's really good. A 30.
You see, as she's sort of stepping through, you feel the weight of these cobwebs. And you're not in any way concerned about the sound of your footfalls. You step, crouching. I mean, almost like a crab, sort of walking vertically, more concerned with keeping yourself less than 2 feet off the ground than anything else. You slide around the side of this refuse, 15, 20, 25 feet. And as you move kind of to the east, and as she's headed the north the way you entered, you see her sort of looking, examining. And the area right in front of you rises up. As you see the crates, a table, several baubles, and half a chair rise into the actual air.
Just levitate? Or like they're on pillars?
No, make an Arcana check. Definitely levitating.
Oh god, 3.
Cool. You're not sure what's going on. Perhaps a spell,
No.
perhaps some sort of magical interaction. Unclear.
Yep. So now I'm no longer hiding because these things are levitating. These things.
No.
I'm
You
hiding
are.
behind?
But where you were is gone. Had you not moved, you would have been revealed.
Ah, over there. That's where things are levitating.
Correct.
Gotcha.
Correct.
Real quick, I came in through the north through a window and
Sure.
I climbed down. Can I scan just real quick for other exits just to start making a little plan?
Sure. And let me. I realize I did not drop you into this owlbear, and I haven't shared it with the viewership yet, but I shall here in a moment.
Sure.
You were at the north. You can see immediately, I mean, with a passive perception and with your expertise in perception as well, but there are essentially the same open kind of painless windows on the north and the south. They're enormous. I mean, almost like the top, a French kind of balcony. Yeah. They're about 12-foot windows, but again, they're more or less just like open air kind of gaps.
Okay. And there's multiple of those beyond just the one that I came through?
So there is one to the north, which is where you entered.
Yep.
And then there is one to the south.
Okay.
The crone has walked here. This table, the components behind it, and most of the refuse that was on the northern side of the floor is... And you see her.
Okay, and so I got one flask from that table that's
Correct.
now levitating. There were 2, I think, that I originally saw.
Correct.
And so one I just did not get.
Correct.
It's floating in.
And you can more or less, I'll go ahead and drop these into the space for you if you'd like to just have a reference point.
Sure.
This was here. This was a flask. Now again, these are about 3-4 feet off the ground, tied to the roof, right? Dangling down.
Yeah.
That's one. That's 2 in the southwest. And then there's 3 that's more or less in the center of the room, just behind where the cauldron is boiling. The one that's behind the cauldron, Matt, is what I described as being different than the kind of flask-shaped teardrops.
Yeah, like a vial.
More
or
like a
something.
vial, exactly.
Okay, and that one's down there. And I'm over on the west side. This is me, right? Yeah, okay.
Yeah.
Alright. Well, that's, if she's got her attention up towards the north, are these, what other structures over here I can hide behind?
So, not everything in the room is listed. There are many things ringing the outside that are, I mean, truly like hard to even determine. So covered in cobwebs and dust are they.
Yeah.
You see some of it is clearly like planed wood. Some of it appears to be like a collapsed pillar, a collapsed statue, some sort of working of clay or stone. Whenever you look to the centermost part, these are essentially, the two squares that you see are elevated. So that's actually off the ground hanging on a chain. The centermost kind of circular space that I will highlight with the pointer, that is a cauldron.
That's the cauldron.
That is roiling and enormous.
Great. I'm gonna sneak down towards this little doohickey.
Okay.
And grab it.
Make a stealth check.
Stealthily do that.
Woo! She's rolling so poorly. She's got great perception.
Oh,
but
nice.
She's rolling poorly.
I've got expert stealth, so that's a 26 on stealth.
You see her like reach and grab this twine and pull it back down and look at where this flask had gone. And then you hear as she lets go of the flask and it again catches and rises taut, slapping against the stone ceiling. There's a
If you come for my son, you will find fire and blood.
You hear as the things she had dropped, or rather raised with telekinesis, are now dropped. She turns east, pulling things up and moving, unfortunately, fully away from where she needs to head. As you sort of creep past with that 28 stealth, you feel your foot kind of catch. There's a moment of hesitation as you're like, oh fuck, like you're really just concerned with volume more than anything. And as you peel it off, there's a gummy kind of tacky resistance that as you pull back leaves this viscous, almost like black meets crimson. It's a very unusual substance. You can make a nature check if you'd like, but you have arrived at the second sort of flask. And if you'd like to try to attempt it, to remove it without any notice, make a sleight of hand check.
All right, I got a 3 on nature.
Cool.
So I don't know what the hell that stuff is.
It's gross. You're sure it's gross?
It's gross. Let's see. You said a sleight of hand check. Is this wrapped up the same way that first flask was that would twang eventually?
Exactly.
All right. So I know that cutting it causes a twang. Oops.
Yes.
So I need to try and do the untie. So that's a sleight of hand of 23.
Cool. So part of it is having like that exposure to the first one. You actually pull down a little bit, kind of gathering some tension and holding the top of it with your other hand. It takes the pressure off this sort of slackened knotting at the very top of the flask. A moment, two, you feel the things create space. You start to wiggle it out, almost like a wrapped kind of wooden jug that you're creating space in the twine to pull free. You release it. It's a different color than the first potion.
Okay.
A viscous kind of blue, almost like a starry blue. As this happens. Woo! Would you roll in your stealth check?
Oh, what was that?
28?
On the original one? That was...
The most recent one, whenever you came over this way.
I just rolled a sleight of hand. I don't remember what my stealth was.
Give
It
me
was
a
good. It was
stealth
like
check,
23 or something. 26. Let's write it. Let's do it now. Oop, that's good. 28.
Oof,
Yep.
okay.
Oof. Oof, with the 28.
You see her turn. And you freeze. You've taken the potion now. You're holding the actual flask. You're like you're like behind it.
Yeah.
Are you letting go of the twine?
If she's looking this direction, I will not let go of the twine. But I'm behind something.
You
I
are.
assume.
You are. You are not immediately visible.
Just gonna hold that twine until I let go. My goal is to eventually just like release it slowly.
Mm-hmm.
But
Sure.
I'm waiting. I'm waiting until she turns it back again.
Cool. So you kind of press your hand kind of against this twine, holding your breath, waiting. A moment goes by too.
To be a queen again.
You see her sort of move back to where she was. She fiddles with this flask for a moment, apparently not what she looked for. Heads over here to this sort of circular table and scoops within it, bringing things back to this pewter bowl at the table. She begins crushing it again.
All right, just to verify once again, because I've already forgotten. This is a window down here, direct south, and the window I came in, direct north.
Correct.
Those are the only two windows?
Those are the only 2 windows, correct.
And I don't see any doors.
You don't see any doors at all.
Okay.
You see no, I mean, it's very typical for like towers like this to have kind of staircase systems, right? You do not see that at all. You can make an investigation check with disadvantage if you'd like.
That's
given
all right. I'm in a hurry.
Cool.
I'm gonna go for the vial near the little cauldron, or the big cauldron.
Okay.
All right, here we go. So I stealth it.
Please.
Ooh, still good. 28. Same roll.
Okay. So you stealth over there.
Yep. Oh, I slowly release the twine that I was holding. Now that she's got it back.
Make a performance check for me, Cierre.
Little tap dance.
Do a soft shoe for me.
Little soft shoe. That's a 16.
Okay. So as you sort of take this moment, it's a really delicate improvisation. I mean, you're really unsure of the mechanism that's even like bringing this thing back taut.
Yeah.
But gingerly, you give back the 4 or 5 inches of slack you created to kind of loosen the actual kind of edge of this flask. And as you do, you feel a brief moment where it almost wants to like gain momentum and pull, almost like retraction in a measuring tape, for example.
Yeah.
And you just stop and you pull back slowly and set it. And as you slowly begin to give pressure to the rope, it doesn't move. The twine holds.
Nice. Figured out that.
You creep over to this, and as you start to reach for it, you see this crone turn back, holding this fine dust. She walks up to the cauldron behind which you're creeping.
Oh boy.
It shall be once more in the land of fiend and mortal, Telkun, beloved of fiend and fire.
And she scatters this dust, and as she does, you see this noxious fume. And I swear, for a brief moment, as you sort of are like waiting, like, holy fuck, is this woman about to peer over the top of this?
Yeah.
You see these vapors rise and briefly take humanoid shape. Twisted horns, the tails of devils, the crooked, cruel wings of demons and half-demons. And just as soon as you see it, it's gone.
That was beautiful.
Would you like to make a sleight of hand check? Are you going for the flask, I guess? You obviously, or the vial, rather.
The vial. I'm gonna go for it. But she's still facing this cauldron
Very much so.
kind of area. I'm gonna give it a moment, see if she walks away for more ingredients.
Sure. And it's,
Just to see.
and it's very interesting you ask that, because as she comes through and you've seen this sort of weird visage almost rise from the acidic kind of mixture and the bubbling therein, she starts to almost sing. This is this extremely pitchy, almost like wavering tone that moves in and out of beautiful and haunting. And as it continues to sort of grow, it moves past 15, 20 seconds, 30. You see this almost like formation, this almost rising coagulation begin to move from the centermost part of this roiling cauldron.
Oh boy. That's her son. Oh no. What have I got? I've got a bear trap.
Yo, consult the player's handbook. Bear trap.
Got a bear trap. Let's see here. You know what? That's freaking me out. I want to get the hell out of here. I'm gonna just snag that vial and go. I'll check it for traps, because is this one suspended from the ceiling also?
This one is suspended from the ceiling as well.
Same deal. Same deal. Then I won't check it for traps. I'll just do the same thing I've always done. Oh, with the others.
You're gonna cut it, or you're gonna sleight of hand it?
No, I'm gonna sleight of hand it. Yeah.
Okay, make a sleight of hand check.
All right. She's got her eyes closed. She's singing. It's fine. 26.
Okay,
Man,
these
I'm
are
rolling
fucking
well.
clutch rolls, my boy.
Yeah.
Clutch rolls. Okay, so yes, I mean similar kind of vibe. I mean honestly, like it takes you a moment because as you start to sort of move back to the twine, you find your palms sweating. It's a very, I mean the energy within this space is unlike anything you've ever witnessed. It's palpable, it's tangible, and it's increasing in almost density and force. However, you focus on the task at hand as you always have. I mean, this is not the first time you find yourself in an extremely dangerous situation where not only like speed, adroitness, but level-headed thinking is critical. You create again some slack, and it's easier to kind of poke it through. And this time it's just almost faster, where you kind of half set the twine and leave it. It's thankfully where the vial had been rests below the actual lip of the cauldron, impossible to kind of recognize that this thing has been left. You are now in possession of 2 flasks and a vial.
3 for 3. That's enough for me. I'm gonna head out. She's still doing her singing thing, right?
She is. I mean, it is growing like towards a vibrato. I mean, it is. And also her breath support is incredible. You're like, damn, this girl is classically trained.
I mean, I'm all about living that live. You know, bring her son back. That's cool. What's my alignment? Oh, yeah, I'm cool with it. So
That's funny.
I'm gonna head south.
Okay.
I'm gonna get out of here. I'm just gonna go up that window. It's a brand new window for me.
It's a
It's like here in
brand
the
new
north.
window.
It's a brand new window.
Okay, are you going stealthy or are you going regular?
Oh, stealth all the way.
It's about to burn you for that, but I understand where you're coming from.
Yeah.
Stealth assumed. Make a stealth check.
Get in a stealth check. All right. Okay. 24.
Damn!
I mean, I got a plus 12.
Yeah, that's massive. She used a +7 to her perception, but it's still been winning. Fuck, okay. Very well. As you
I
sort
have
of...
no climbing cost.
No
for
climbing
my
cost at
movement?
all, yeah. You, this is not the side you came in on.
Right.
So as you do exit, you do see that there is almost like it feels like a balcony, but there's no handrails, there's no guardrails, there's no anything other than about a
platform?
6 foot by 12 foot slab of metal.
Is it 12 foot outward or 12 foot along the
12
curve
foot
of
away
the
from the
tower?
side. It's about 6 foot
Oh,
wide,
wow,
12 foot
like
long.
a diving board. Okay.
Yes, almost like a platform, yeah.
Well, I can't fly unless one of these potions do something cool, so I'm not gonna dive. But I will climb down this side. If I get up there, yeah, I'll go out and climb down the side
Sure.
of this tower. 600 feet high, right?
Yeah, 600 feet high.
I'm really tall up there.
As you step out, you hear this, and you
Ooh, I
look
wanna
back.
peek.
There's this pillar twisting of what appears to be fire, twisting with this like licking green flame. It kind of almost like evaporates in and out. Like there's moments where you see it twisting up, almost like a summoned pillar of fire, or perhaps something that you have seen, a fire elemental. However, it's unlike that. I mean, the green hues of it and the sort of vibrant. You know what? Make either a nature check or a religion check if you like. We'll see how much you recognize out of this.
Got a +0 in both of those.
Dealer's choice.
It's a 17.
Okay.
Let's go with, let's call it religion. Why
Yeah,
not?
thank you for letting me know.
Yeah.
This is undoubtedly a summoning ceremony. As you look and, you know, you've heard enough. I mean, part fiend, part fire, begat of blood, begat of woe. I mean, there's all kinds of things where it's sort of like, the fuck? Also, the fact that this woman, you've seen her closer now. It wasn't as apparent whenever you first snuck in about a year and a half ago, partly because she was asleep and you were moving quick. You've now been 4 feet from this woman. She is covered in scars. Second, third degree burns. It looks almost like in some cases the burns haven't even, like they look still festered, they look fresh. And as this pillar rises up of, again, kind of twisting fire and flame and these licking tendrils of unknown green energy, There's something extremely fiendish about this entire operation. However, you make it to the edge of this place. Seriously. At the same time, she's living her truth. She's trying to bring her son back.
Hey,
She.
who am I? Who am I? To interfere with the citizens of Menzoberranzan or whatever.
I am, as you sort of head out, I am going to ask you to make one more stealth check for me.
Okay.
And I'm going to give her...
I did the peek.
Ooh!
I did the peek. Ooh, that was almost a 1. But it's not. It is a 25.
Wow. Dude, she's rolled multiple, like, 22s, 23s, and you beat her. As you sort of are looking back, you're sort of like half crouched on the edge of this metal pillar. I mean, what gentle wind exists in the Underdark is even more heightened at such an altitude. But you feel it kind of gather around the tattered edges of your cloak, and you look back to see this pillar twisting, and there's this moment of, the fuck? And just as soon as it's there, it's gone. You see through where the flame had been to this twisted, scarred visage of this impossibly ancient crone. And there's a moment of fuck.
On her face or on my?
I'm feeding you that because you're like shit.
Got it. Shit.
Before again the pillars raise back up. This time even more fervent. This time not waning. This time not dropping back down.
Oh no. Oh my god. Well, does it look like it's still in a green flaming form?
It is
Or is
part
it like
green
Yeah.
and part like straight up fucking flame.
Whoa. Dang. Okay. All right. Well, I'm getting out. I'm a single, lonely little little spy woman. So I'm gonna do a little spider woman thing
Sure.
and climb down this tower.
Heck yeah. So
This thing didn't see me.
no athletics, no acrobatics needed. You are capable of your own climbing speed. As you begin to kind of descend, you begin making your way back down. And about halfway down, just with your passive perception, you see, like flying much faster than they had descended, this same sort of horde of darkness. Make another acrobatics or athletics check.
Okay. All right, 21.
Okay, great. DC was 18 both times. You see this, you begin kind of pivoting, almost climbing like horizontally now, moving your way clockwise around the other side of this tower. You see them going up. I mean, tattered, bits of flesh, bits of armor and armament.
They've seen some shit.
The
These little
odd
ravens and imps and all
gore
that
and blood,
stuff?
exactly.
Whoa.
Even more imps than before. There'd been previously 4 or 5. There's now roughly 24. Almost no bats are visible, but it's almost all dark-winged imp and or raven and crow. It's really insane, and it's honestly hard to kind of tell the difference between the imps and the ravens and crows.
Wow.
But you make your way down, and because you've successfully, passed that potential threat, and because you have a climbing speed, I'm not going to ask for any hijinks. It's more just, shit, that shit was high. Yeah. As you descend now to the base of this tower, you see all around you. No need for a perception check. Slain bodies. Some the bodies of drow, some 6, 7. You see 2 ogres. Their eyes and almost the entirety of their face eaten away. They're partially kind of kneeled, slumped over. You see both of them, looking like something out of a macabre torture film. They're almost entirely still there, except that their brain has been penetrated through their eyes and partially consumed. You also see in this space at the base of this tower of blood some 36 bats, an odd smattering of ravens, and the body of an imp, black-fleshed, black-feathered. Some sort of incredibly rough interaction. Those that had kind of called out to you as you had begun your ascension are no longer present, and there's no living being within about 200 feet of the base of this tower.
I want to check out that imp.
Sure.
See if there's, I don't know. See what it's about.
Go for it.
Is that a perception or investigation?
Make an investigation check.
All right, that's a 5.
Cool. So some things are like easy enough to find. Well, I mean, right? You flip him over. You're using sort of your short sword. You don't want to make too much contact.
Yeah, it's gross.
You know, with the 5, it's tough to kind of get much of a rundown. I mean, you assume these two elements are connected. I mean, you saw them exit this fucking top of this tower. You've now anecdotally connected that either this woman's return or this woman's use of magic appears to draw these skyward harbingers. Almost like the opposite of a lighthouse. And why that might be...
Like it's a defense mechanism maybe or something. While she's casting, it protects her from interruption.
100%, something like that.
Something
like that. Hard to say with a 5.
But, I should probably tell the Drow leadership, because maybe this is a threat. Maybe the Drow leadership, this is what they want. I don't know. I'm just a loyal soldier.
Fair enough. Now, you, of course, were earlier that day given a summons to see Umbridge himself. It is, you know, more or less the time for that. You have probably about 45 minutes, but it takes you about 25 minutes to get to the actual seat of remembrance, so you might as well get going.
That way. I want to check out these potions.
Sure.
Because I got 2 potions in a vial.
1000%.
Anything? Do I know? Do I recognize these?
One you immediately recognize from its sort of dark purple hue as being a potion of fly. The second one you grabbed had been a potion of fly. It was hard to kind of tell that in the actual, you know, near darkness, which of course wasn't a problem for you as a drow. But the other 2 you don't recognize. The vial you have not seen, and the first flask that you grab you have not seen. You may, if you like, roll an Arcana check. Otherwise, it would take, you know, more or less taking a short rest or an identify spell to be able to get to the bottom of that.
Gotcha. Ooh, hey, that's not bad. 17 on the Arcana.
Okay, cool. So you may, through your examination, have identified either the other flask or the vial. Your choice.
So I've got the fly potion. Let's hit up the vial. What's that vial?
So the vial is actually a vial of invulnerability. So it gives you, for 1 minute, resistance to all damage.
Whoa. That's cool. 1 minute of resistance to everything.
The other flask is this almost like mother of pearl. It looks almost like a really light kind of quicksilver. It's iridescent as well. It looks thick.
Gross.
But you're not sure what it is.
Okay, I hate iridescent stuff at Clash of the Skin.
That's so funny. So
I'm gonna head over.
Cool.
I'm gonna head over to the.
So you make your way
to see Umbridge.
This is, you know, where the Tower of Blood is a very, I mean, not necessarily underdeveloped. I mean, Menzoberranzan is an ancient city. I mean, it is extremely caught in its rhythms. It is also, at present, a little bit underpopulated. That's obviously something that the Drow are extremely aware of. But this area to the north is, I mean, significantly uninhabited. As you leave this space and you're moving back towards the main thoroughfares in the actual heart of the city, you do see people kind of passing by, but the Drow way of life is one of, you know, intense survival. You know, one sort of largely centered around necessity and the need that springs from that. You don't see people hawking trivial cakes or small trinkets. It's linens, it's food, it's tools and weapons and little less. As you make your way kind of the centermost city, you see at the edge of this kind of very wide, broad stone walkway the actual seat of remembrance. It is an enormous vaulting stone building, almost like the Pantheon, if you're familiar with that, although made of very dark kind of burnished stone. Corinthian columns in front, and across the centermost kind of lip of the front ledge of this building is this intricate lattice work that you are of course familiar with, but you haven't actually graced the seat of remembrance in quite some time, Cierre. As you look up, you see a god. I mean, not a literal god, but the outline, the representation of one. One most honored and dear to the Drow. The god Scaravon. The
Scaravon?
Lord, yeah, Scaravon.
Okay.
Scaravon. The Lord of the fallen stars, the Lord of the burrowed scorpion, the Lord of the slow death. And you, of course, know this. I mean, it's sort of like, understanding kind of the basic Christmas story whenever you're raised through a Western lens. But, you know that within antiquity that, all the gods once walked, freely between the material and the astral plane. And that Scaravon was once, a member of this astral tapestry until he was scorned and removed from his seat of skyward power.
Unfairly so.
Undoubtedly. And much like the Drow themselves, I mean, it's hard to say chicken or the egg in this situation, but Scaravon's scorn of the stars, of the moon, of celestial light itself has become almost dogma for the Drow. But you approach...
Pain.
Dude, yeah, exactly. You, and I think there probably is, definitely some pain and also a little bit of that kind of nostalgia of being back in a building that is important, but you haven't been in quite some time. However, as you approach these wide stone steps that now kind of spill from the street up to the actual, place of the Seat of Remembrance, there's a cavernous archway that is an entrance. There is a portcullis. It is raised. This is, of course, the seat of the the Drow military brass, several of its war mages, chiefly among them Umbridge, but this was also Baron Chena's, sort of main kind of place whenever he wasn't in the field. As you kind of, go up from, about the 180th to now the 200th steps, you're greeted with the crisp leveling of spears from the two elite warriors standing atop the guards. Or atop the steps. It's hard to tell. You're pretty sure you recognize one of them. He kind of gives you a half nod, a guy named Gresian. But you have business to do. You move forward into the actual space of the seat, and it's an enormous, almost feels like a cathedral. Above you is a mural depicting stars in freefall, tumbling from the heavens. And there's a smile on your face as you see, walking and reaching the actual kind of floor level and kind of touching some of the pews and kind of the sides of the actual walls. You see these stars falling to pierce humans, elves, dwarves, the heart of the lurkers above. You move forward and up another set of stairs, these quite narrow, switchbacking savagely up the actual, almost within the actual wall of the enormous stone cathedral. There's no light, it's completely blacked off. You move upward. Eventually it spills into a long, carpeted hallway, and there's kind of weak flitters of blue arcane light, all that's needed for the powerful Drow eyes. And again, these waves of memory rise from the recesses, Cierre, as you pass by the door to Baron Chena's antechamber. And I think there's that quickening of your pulse. You'd be able to tell me better than I, where it's so hard for you to recognize and be so close to his quarters, and yet feel so distant. The last half dozen or so messages sent through your sending stone went unreceived.
I assume there's a door and it's shut.
It is.
I know he's not in there, but if I'm not in a rush, if I've got some moments, I feel like I've got some moments, I'm gonna check the door. I'm just gonna
1000%.
check the door.
It is locked.
Of course. I'm not gonna unlock it. That's okay.
Okay.
I know he's not in there.
Sure.
It's futile. So I'll just keep going on to Umbridge.
So onward you go. Continue on, and there are, you've passed sort of this single kind of doorway, and you head towards the end of the hallway where there's these larger kind of double doors. And as you sort of slide these doors open, they don't kind of open forward or backwards, they slide almost like patio doors. There's this wash of clove and sandalwood and powerful incense filling your nostrils. You see umbrage within. This sort of comfortable expanse of a very finely adorned room. In the centermost is this kind of central connected living room that's kind of adjunctly attached to smaller anterooms. There are no real doors, there are some curtains, but for the most part it's largely kind of open air. You do see it, cluttered with scrolls. Different kind of tomes. You see vases half open, some of them kind of spilled over, many of them containing, thick bushels of scrolls, some of them with scrolls sort of half pulled out. Many of these are actually strung up, oddly similar to the crone, sort of tied from the ceiling that only goes up about 15 feet up to the top of the actual scroll, but then weighted down to the bottom of it. And you see kind of in the center, umbrage. Almost like he's standing in the middle of this like marionette display of attached scrolls. Suspended in the air above his desk, which is at the far end of this room, is a blade of ancient legend that you recognize. The Dawnbringer. This dark mage doesn't stir, and it's just now that you actually see his robes are gathered at his waist above his knees, and he's standing inside a wooden tub. The vapors of steam rising amidst and above his clutched cloaks. Umbrage sort of leans, his long drow nose becoming sort of closer to each scroll and moving around. He peers from one scroll to the next and then back down at something in his hands that you can't make out because his back is to you. And he peers for so long you're not sure if he's aware that the doors have opened behind him. Until he speaks.
This list of names confounds me, child. I have half a mind to scold you for bringing me such a puzzle, but once cracked, surely my opinion shall change. Come, would you like a foot soak?
A foot soak? My lord, I'd be happy to join you.
You see sort of an apparating mage hand, and it pushes an empty wooden tub.
Yeah.
He begins talking as again this mage hand goes, seemingly unbidden, and returns, pouring a large vase of water. There's a brief moment where you're like, wait a minute, I want it to get before it begins steaming from his control water cantrip. You, if you'd like, may step in. You are literally like both in tubs in the center of this room and are surrounded by scrolls that have been attached from the ceiling and then kind of weighted at the very bottom with, all kinds of odds and ends. Books, inkwills, sort of sacks, etc. Whatever he has on hand.
Sure. And I've been in these chambers several times.
You have multiple times, for sure. First time he's offered you a foot soak.
Yeah. That's unique. He must be really pleased with my most recent efforts.
Exactly. Or very tense. Or extremely tense.
Very tense. Yeah, that's a good point. My apologies, my lord. I hoped the list of names would please you.
They have.
I don't mean to add more worry to your plate.
Oh, I fear my impatience drives my tongue and my heel.
And you see him sort of turn, and what was cupped in his hands is the actual list of names. You recognize it. This almost like 3x6 stone index card. I tried to inscribe some of the names on separate paper to make it easier for myself to try to find their reference amidst these ancient tomes. And as he says that, he sort of references this, display of scrolls that are kind of, entrapped up above the space. Yet when you put a name down onto paper, it consumes it with fire. And if you etch it onto stone, the stone crumbles and is consumed. So therefore there is only one.
Powerful ancient magic.
Indeed.
Good, it's in the hands of people trustworthy.
He looks at you with like a meaningful, long look.
Indeed. Now, this list shall eventually be the spear behind which this nation of the underdog marches forward. I had hoped today to send you, Cierre, into the Nine Hells, to bind a demon lord with the power of this list. But as of yet I have not found our quarry, and even a tracker such as yourself would need more than fire and stone to find a demon lord. Now, the giants of the north have broken their truce, and the peace of the wild lies broken, shattered in the stones of the cold box. Unchecked, the walls of Menzoberranzan will soon be shadowed by giants, again seeking to enslave the Drow. Yet this shall not be.
He begins to... Yeah, please.
So, out of game lore question. I recall that the Drow and the giants of the north had a pact versus the dragons, that is it. So that's a long-standing pact, as far as I know, and it's just now brand new news that pact has been betrayed by the giants. Is that what he's telling me?
Correct.
This is brand new information.
Historically,
there was no hint of that.
Historically, the giants and the Drow have worked in tandem, in collusion to a degree, although the power dichotomy has been immense. A big kind of natural counterbalance to the Drow, feeling threatened by giants and potentially overcome by them, has been this location known as the Cold Box. It is physically located along the spine of the world, along the far north. But the Cold Box, and Cierre would know this, I mean, it's a big part of what has driven the Drow deep within the earth. But the Cold Box has long been the site of dragon roosting. If a dragon is to be brought from egg to wormling, it is there. It has typically been in the Cold Box, a place of ancient sort of protection. The Peace of the Wild was largely an understanding between giant and dragon that neither would maraud or violently impose on the other's sacred sites. And now that the Cold Box lies in ruin, the message is clear.
Done by the hands of the giants.
Correct.
Presumably.
And lastly, I'm realizing, I mean, this was, I think, in perhaps the original lore sheet, but maybe not. The Cold Box itself, dragons aren't interested in this because of their size, but, I mean, essentially leads down to a winding pathway that is more or less 2 or 3 miles north of Menzoberranzan. The Cold Box, more or less, while being marauded over by dragons, actively protected the back door to the Underdark, shall we say.
I see.
Is a succinct way to put that.
Okay. And it was controlled by dragons.
Correct.
Like that area.
The Cold Box is a roosting spot for dragons that now recently has been essentially destroyed, presumably by giants.
Okay, cool. So giants might be making their way downstairs to us anytime soon. And can't have that. Okay, cool. This is... I'll just say to Umbridge, this is shocking news. This is incredible. The pact between Drow and giants has been long-standing, and how dare they turn their backs on us?
It is a dark day, indeed.
All the more reason to reveal the secrets of the true list of names.
Indeed, indeed.
I hope, when he sort of gestures against these scrolls, to
dive into the ancient lore keepers. There are places, the Lake of Hell, the Sea of Iniquity, that have historically given rise to the lordship of demons. But I cannot afford to send you with a full company of warriors, and I cannot risk you go alone, Cierre. Which brings me to why you are here today. Moon, hand me that towel, would you?
He sort of motions about 20 feet away to his desk where there's a very large kind of terracotta towel.
I'll step on out.
Oh shit, I forgot. No. Don't. I have mage hand.
You see a mage hand kind of appear. Sorry, I was a little too on script there. He receives the terracotta towel, and he sort of drops it down. He's like,
To soak as long as you like.
and you see Umbridge kind of step gingerly. I mean, he almost is like sort of like a stork, a little bit afraid of like getting stuck in sand. You know what I mean? You know, he's old for a drow, and he's wrapping his feet, you know, patting them down before he pulls, you know, kind of the trademark just mop the floor shuffle. You know, where he's sort of, you know, moving the towel, sliding across.
There they are.
He spots a pair of slippers and slides himself into them.
Little bunny slippers.
Ah!
Little bunny slippers.
Now they are.
Little drow bunnies.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, maybe that's officially part of it. But you see him sort of slip and turn, and for the first time, Cierre, there is a weight and an age to Umbridge that you've never before seen worn on him.
Baronchena has gone silent, though I'm sure this is not news. He is both cunning and skilled in the weaving of the arcane, meaning he has either been separated from his sending stone, or he no longer draws breath on the material plane.
It was my understanding Baronchena was on a mission to set charges beneath Silverymoon.
This is true. I know the two of you were close. But his mission was of the utmost power. He was in collusion with a group of lurkers on the surface, criminals known as the Blind Jackals. They had supplied him with explosive powder. And there are many caverns of the Underdark that weave all the way from Menzoberranzan to the actual surface, as you know. One of which lies beneath the temple of silvery stars and Silverymoon. You, Cierre, will go to answer the question of what has happened to Baronchena the Mage. If he is gone, your place here is even more vital. Walk the knife blade between caution and necessity. I will teleport you to the Dark Bridge, some half a mile from Baronchena's chambers, and I will have you venture into this sanctuary of Scatavon. This is where Baronchena gathered, and where these several dozen tons of explosive powder are cached. If the powder still rests in the sanctuary, you will use this.
He holds up what appears to be a very small ruby.
It will be all we need to set the charges. If the powder has been moved, then your goal grows more dangerous, for I will need you to press into the actual city of Silverymoon and find where the powder is cached.
Should the powder have been removed and relocated, and I find its location, do you just want me to report back to you what I find, or shall I move it?
No,
As Baronchena was instructed to do.
depends. There is a place in Silverymoon known as the Hall of Justice. It is deep within this hall that the mithril gods that create the wards of Silverymoon are kept. Within the sanctuary of Scatavon, Baronchena had been slaving away to create inroads, almost like tunnels within. However, if this cache of explosive powder has been moved within, shall we say, 100, 200 feet of the Hall of Justice. I think it close enough. Simply set this ruby eye, and I shall handle the rest.
Sounds like a job I can easily carry out. It is a shame that Baron Chenna was sent alone in the first place. And you see, maybe he registers this on his insight, maybe he doesn't, but there's a twinge of anger at Umbridge for sending my good fellow Baron
He just
Chenna.
rolled a nat 20 on his insight.
Oh yeah.
You
So he senses it.
have a really good deception, and so I'm not sure if
I
you're
do.
trying. Are you trying to withhold this at all?
I think it comes out accidentally.
Totally. You
So,
feel
yeah.
the pressure of this mage hand raising your chin.
He did not go alone, child. He went with several elite warriors, several gunslingers, and a summons of most foul intent. If he was overwhelmed, it means the sanctuary was perhaps discovered. Take heed and caution, for I cannot afford to lose you as well.
Okay, before you send me there, is there any value in exploring Baron Chenna's chambers here in the halls of Scaravan to find any... I don't know what we'd find there.
Well, I know that closure is often helpful. I hadn't considered. So yes, I imagine the door won't be too much trouble for you. Poke around, see what you see. Oh, and before I forget,
He sort of motions to the other end of this table. And you see him, you're still standing in the sub, but you see about 15 feet away, resting on this table, is a worn buckskin travel sack.
to aid you in your travels.
He turns back again to the scrolls.
It is my hope that you will return swiftly, having weakened the wards of Silverymoon. Once I find a demon lord whose name is contained on the list therein, then we shall both go to cur him to our want. And once that is accomplished, child, then the lurkers shall know the power of the 9 hells.
I smile at that.
He leans over, he tosses you this buckskin. And he also sort of slides over a terracotta towel.
Stopped.
And as you sort of unravel this buckskin, it's really, really supple. I mean, like the tannery or whoever has been responsible for preparing this leather really knows their shit. But you unravel it to find 10 arrows, as well as a very fine, almost like mesh woven cloak. You immediately recognize this cloak as a cloak of elven kind, giving you advantage on stealth checks when the hood of it is raised, in essentially effectively making you a shadow. It takes you a moment longer with the arrows, but you do recognize them as 10 plus 1 arrows. The actual sort of tips of them are savagely barbed, but the weight and balance is true.
Excellent. These tools will certainly aid me in the quest that you're sending me.
On the same timeline, I have sent another, Demetrius.
And you know Demetrius, like, bit of a fucking knob. Bit of a... He too has some levels in Rogue, but he also has some levels in Sorcerer. He's real cocky son of a bitch. Drove Baronchena nuts. He was constantly, like, he was never really given a position within the military, and because of that was used almost like a remote task force, which very much upped his ego, but really just led to a lot of people doing a lot of legwork for him that then he took a lot of the credit for. Within the actual sort of arrangement of the Fist of the Scorpion, which is the Drow military, he's just viewed as a fucking selfish dude. Umbridge doesn't really track on any of this, or if he does, he doesn't acknowledge it in his voice.
Along this same timeline, I have sent Demetrius to the city of Sandabar. Within the day, less, they shall feel the heat, and the stone shall shake as the power of the dark is brought to the surface. If you can, Cierre, go deposit this ruby trigger and return within 24 hours.
Now, you still have a sending stone with, I believe it is the a scythe on it, used to communicate with Umbridge. So he knows you still have this. Obviously, you guys have like pretty much one way street. The mission was go see where the powder is, blow it the fuck up. But a big part of the mission was also, where the fuck is Baronchena?
That's my personal mission.
Sure. You're not sure if that's why he selected you for this. I mean, like, he's a hard guy to read. He's very withdrawn. He's very purpose driven. But even the fact that he acknowledged the two of you were close is a little outside the use for him. He's not one to ever play on emotion.
I got a passive insight of like 21. Can I just like do some active insight? See if I can get a beat on what he's.
Yeah, roll insight to see how it goes. But that active insight is definitely going to give you an angle, and is what's probably cueing you to roll an insight check right now.
Yeah, I got a 16.
Cool. There is, and has been, I mean, him asking you to get the towel after you just stepped into the actual soak tub. Him not immediately reacting when the doors open. The fact that he's been here for 5 days, unable to locate the quarry. Like, he wanted to send you with the list of names today. There's a tightness to Umbridge, a concern.
A time deadline that's not being met.
Possibly. If it's just the different disappearance of Baronchena, if it's this falling of this ancient dragon stronghold that also more or less worked as like a backdoor lock for the Underdark, unclear. But there's a tension and a tautness to an otherwise almost omniscient mage that you track.
Lord Umbridge, I hate to burden you with further problems, but I wanted to make sure you were also aware of an occurrence within our own city here in Menzoberranzan.
Go on.
Do you know the haunted tower? The one with all the rumors and stories?
The Tower of
I visited
Blood.
there before. The Tower of Blood. Inside resides or visits an old crone. And today, this morning, on my way to meet your summons, there was a flock of what I initially thought to be ravens. Turned out to be more than just ravens and bats. There were imps. And I climbed the tower to peer inside, and I witnessed the old crone inside, summoning some sort of creature out of a cauldron. A green flame creature. She named her son. I believe the name was Talcoon.
Make an insight check.
Insight check. What's he thinking? Ooh, what was that? 6 plus 17.
Absolutely recognizes the name Talcoon.
Is this something we should be concerned of? Is this something happening right under our noses, or is this something we're in league with? Can we use this to our benefit?
You see him take a long moment. He goes to the far side of this chamber. He seems sort of rummaging beyond this area. It looks like a brazier, a bowl, unclear. You smell again like intense, herbaceous kind of incense filling the room as he produces flame and lights the interior of this brazier.
There was a crone who was once a spellcaster. She sat here in the seat of remembrance. Her name was Anaya. Telkoon is her son. Half drow, half demon. For in a most foul undertaking, Anaya gave herself up to the shadow. And what remained and was brought back was most fiendish indeed. Telkoon was birthed here in Menzoberranzan. It was some 600 years ago, yet now it continues on. If indeed she has returned, and if indeed she seeks to draw her half-fiendish son back to the material plane, it is something we can use indeed. I know that Telkoon is a sorcerer most foul, again having the wild magic of the drow as well as the power of the demon. Last I heard, he lived in a stone tower somewhere north of the Evermoors. If it is true he can be summoned here, then it is a power most dark indeed. Thank you for telling me, Cierre. I shall scry on the top of this tower and see if I might keep an eye myself.
If Telkoon is so connected to the dark shadows, perhaps there's information to be gleaned regarding the list of true names.
Indeed.
In this source. I wanted to make sure you were aware.
I am. I have half a mind to go there now and see what you speak, but I think it wiser that I simply scry and send you on your way.
I'll
Come.
be happy to accompany you as soon as I return.
He stops, like already having started walking to the westward side. He stops and turns back.
To do that, you must return, my child. So return you must.
I intend to.
He leads you to sort of the western side of again, this sort of like, imagine like a rectangular room that has like a small kind of antechamber, but then three kind of flared connected anterooms with no real dividers. There might be sliding doors. I mean, you can make a perception check, but everything is extremely open air within this space.
Mm-hmm.
He leads you to the west. You see this space, the curtains drawn, almost like silk veils that are pulled back. The entire space, like, thick with this herbaceous smoke. I mean, to the degree that it's kind of starting to irritate your eyes a little bit. You see that he's laid out three very intricate circular designs, carvings. You know them to be circles of transport.
I see.
He bids you to stand within one.
Wait, did you want to examine Baron chambers before you go?
If we're not in an urgent time frame, there might be information to glean there. But if time is of the essence, those chances are small that anything would be, any clues or evidence would be gathered.
If it is less than a quarter of an hour, it might be worth it.
I'll go inspect now and be back.
Go, child.
You go. You exit. Slide open the
Exit.
doors. You slide them back down. Only about 80 feet away. You pass a couple doors. You get to Baranchena's. And again, you knew it because you frequently visited him here. I mean,
Yeah.
it was, something that you could probably speak more to than me, but it was something that really did. I mean, you guys were. I mean, it was almost like coworkers, right? I mean,
Yeah, we had an arrangement. I didn't have to knock. I just
Exactly.
let myself
totally. Although at this point in time it is locked. Make a sleight of hand check.
in. And
Or excuse me, make a dexterity check and add your proficiency with your thieves' tools.
dexterity check, add the proficiency. That's gonna be a 23.
Cool. Not a problem at all. You press through and within a moment of seconds you find the gear, you press back, and it's such a satisfying feeling. Just feeling almost like cracking your back in a place that was stuck. You hear the lock. The door immediately give about 2-3 inches. You press it open.
And I would know if he's the type to trap his door
For
or
sure.
anything like that.
Within
right?
the seat of remembrance, within the actual kind of hall of Menzoberranzan, it is not. It is locked, just more out of he was in
We trust each other, but we only trust each other so much.
understandable.
The camaraderie in the halls of Scaravan.
You do see a very neat and orderly yet comfortable space. I mean, it's not too unlike the times you've seen it. Perhaps a bit more put away than it normally is. But make an investigation check as you sort of move through this space.
Okay, not good at these. Here we go. Roll the 6.
Cool. So there's some stuff that's like readily obvious. There's a wall of books. Some of those have like scrolls tucked within them. You pull some of them out and start going through, and it's like, what the fuck's this? Clearly some sort of like high-level fucking wizardy shit. You go and you're sort of more just going through the desk, seeing if there's anything that like is tucked away, is put away. You see a fair amount of correspondence. You flip open a large, about 12-inch, almost like a foot-long box, almost like a very large cigar box. As you open it up, you see it kind of sectioned, almost like a tackle box. With a 6, it's hard for you to really place everything. I think your history with Baranchena and just sort of your history in general, given what you do, you take this to be some mixture of components. Many of them are finely ground. Some of them are like really odd and clearly organic. One appears to be a dried eye, one is a dried foot. But as you pull one forward, there's these thin, uniform gray strips. Make a nature check for me.
Ooh, something else I'm not good at. Ooh, but I got a 17.
This is a strip of flesh from an elemental. It's something that you remember Baranchena talking about. Part of what he had been doing beneath the city of Silverymoon was more or less like burrowing into the actual warding of the city with the intention of exploding key points of leverage to bring down the ward and elements of the city itself. But much like the list of true names, the lineage of the Drow and the lore therein has long driven a necessity to stay ahead of fiendish intention. Baranchena had spoken of an elemental beast that lived deep within the mountains, known as a Xorn, Xorn. In Cierre, I think as you recognize this flesh as elemental, you're reminded of being hidden on the northeast corner of the alcove just outside the entrance to the tomb of Decanthar, within the stretch of the northern Nether Mountains. And as you'd seen this group of strangers cross this bridge and set foot onto this snow-covered platform, there had erupted 5 pillars. And contained on one of those pillars was the image of a Xorn. A diamond, rather. For the Xorns are known as the Diamond Eaters. When they burrow within the mountain, what they are in search for is precious metals, precious stone, rubies, diamonds, sapphire, gold, ethereum. They lust and hunger for it with an unquenchable thirst. Now, what the fuck it's doing in this little magical tackle box? But it does appear to be there. Unfortunately, with that 6, there's not much you find of value.
Yeah. What was the so the buckskin sack had the arrows, had the cloak of elvenkind. It's nothing more than that. It's just a nice buckskin sack.
Unfortunately, yes.
Some belongings. Okay.
Unfortunately, it is. Yeah.
How much room do these components occupy? Is there room to like just add them to that sack and still have?
Dude, you could close the box, put the whole box in your.
Cool. Yeah. I'll do that. I'm gonna bring it with me.
Okay.
I've got a feeling that Baron is, if he's alive, is in dire straits, and he's gonna be happy to see some components to help him, to help us possibly.
Very, very possible.
Escape.
Very.
So I'll grab these components that were left behind, originally thought to be unnecessary.
Love it. Okay.
And I will exit. I will relock the door.
Love it. Love it. I don't think any check needed. I think that's easy enough for you to do. As you sort of roll back in, you see that Umbridge couldn't help himself. He's gone back. He's sort of walking again this space. I mean, it's very much a scene out of a beautiful mind. He's captivated by whatever rune work and information, whatever magic incantation has been captured in this scroll. Just realizing I have no idea where my dog is. Okay, I see him. He's alive.
Yeah.
However, as you sort of enter back in, he says,
Very well. Did you find anything of import?
No clues, no information, no arrows pointing the way, but possibly something Baron Chaina may be pleased to see should I encounter him.
Well, I hope we find some clarity. Come.
he sort of motions to the centermost of these 3 circles. And you know how it goes. This is not the first time you've been teleported by him.
I hate this feeling.
Yeah, it is. There is that kind of moment. You're like, fuck. You step in. He still has like 1 or 2 kind of rune works that he needs to complete, and it does take a minute to cast this spell. But eventually it is done. And as he completes the last sort of slash, bringing this rune work fully to completion, your body contains
cloak.
Yeah, totally.
I don't know what I'm getting myself into.
Totally. You're not exactly sure where you're going. You feel your body start to particleize. It's a very, very heady kind of feeling. And it feels so protracted, almost like you're being lowered into ice cold water before it rapidly accelerates and you're plunged through. Your vision blurs for a brief moment and you're pushed through, your eyes flittering open in darkness. You're on the other side of an enormous, enormous cavern. Make a perception check.
21.
Cool. So it's not uncommon for the Drow to use what are called dark bridges, which are essentially bridges that have an illusion spell atop them, are largely invisible to the human or to the average eye, without either some true sight or some ability to see into the ethereal plane. You are standing on a very rough-hewn cavern space. You can see sort of, you're almost like in kind of a cavernous space above you. Darkness extends behind. With your 120 feet, you can see that it like literally extends. The cavern does not have an end that you can see. There are walls about 40 feet either direction, kind of to the east-west, but to the south, black space. Have no idea how long it goes, where it goes, how deep it goes. However, in front of you, on a slight angular pitch heading towards the actual surface, is a yawning cavernous space. However, with that 21, you do see about 6-7 feet away from the lip of the edge of this cavern, beyond which is just chasmic darkness. There are grains of sand resting seemingly suspended above the space.
Jones has been here.
Totally.
I love it. I'm gonna just head out. I've experienced these Drow dark bridges before.
Definitely.
Right? So I know what this is.
1,000%.
So yeah, I'll just
1,000%.
start going.
So you stroll across.
Yeah. I'm being sneaky because so where I was sent was where Baron Chaina was sent.
Correct.
Me.
You are going into what is called the Sanctuary of Scaravan. It is an ancient space that long existed beneath and below Silverymoon, but has now been like driven off and abandoned because of the mithril wards that have been put up by the actual city and kind of the dominion and dominance of the surface level humanoids. However, Scaravan has been here for quite some time, more or less just like trying to make this happen, right? And
we've been digging our way to the surface, potentially using the Zorn possibly to do that. From this location we started at the bottom, now we're here.
1,000%.
Gotcha.
Got the whole crew. Exactly.
Got the whole crew.
So.
All right. Actually, you know what? Before I head across this bridge, can I just look around at my feet?
Sure.
See if I see any evidence of how long it's been since someone's been in this location.
Sure.
See if I can glean when.
Make a survival check.
Okay. And these are caverns. These aren't mountains. So
this is still Underdark for you, for sure.
Still Underdark. Got it. Okay. That's actually not a favored terrain for me.
Oh, okay. Caverns, mountains. Okay, got it. I would consider this mountain.
All right. Well, I rolled a natural 20, so
Let's
that's
go.
a 27.
Let's go. Okay, cool. Let me just get the actual thing up.
31 if you're considering this mountains.
Wow. Okay.
I mean, if we're pushing it.
Yeah. Yo, push that shit, dog. Push it. So you examine the space. What is most telling about it is the absence of significant amounts of sand or granular anything by which one might be able to assure their passage, right? I mean, even for the Drow, even for those that are massively familiar with these dark bridges, it's a little bit like unnatural and a little bit against like the self-preservation of an individual to like step out into cosmic darkness, you know?
Yeah.
So typically, you know, there's a little bit more of that kind of, you know, thrown sand, some sort of kicked dirt, dust, something, slapping the ground, anything. Noticeably absent. Leads
Does
you
it
to
look like it's been swept away? Like
no.
Purposefully?
It's hard to tell. Even with that high of a roll, it's really hard to kind of get a feel. The only thing you can really get, and it gives you a moment, you do feel occasional, hard to call it wind, but the stirrings of movement.
Sure.
Again, from the deep, deep chasms of the Underdark. It feels like this side, more or less traveling from Underdark into the Sanctuary of Scaravan, has not been traversed in months, if not years.
Okay. So in theory, based on that evidence, it's possible Baron Chaina hasn't even been through here at all. That teleportation spell may have gone awry, and that was the last we heard of him. Do I know? Has Umbridge ever told me? Because I know we've lost contact with Baron Chaina recently, but was there contact previously while he was on his mission?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Okay.
Definitely.
Okay, so there was some contact originally when the mission was first trying to be carried out. Okay, good. So he's been here.
Yes, and there was occasional times where you two would converse as well in terms of like sharing information or as it maybe progressed, just kind of saying what up.
Yeah, gotcha. Because we've got sending stones that share as well.
Exactly.
But no answer lately. Okay.
But just to button that, Cierre, I would say that you feel pretty confident going both ways. That people haven't been crossing this bridge either direction, or if they have either I mean, it's just hard to imagine even a Drow walking that great of a distance without making sure the bridge was there.
All right. I guess I will Is this something where like I can just step forward and start walking, or do I need to bring a little bit of sand and dirt with me and kind of occasionally like toss it out to make sure I'm about to take a proper step?
You
I don't
tell
know
me.
how long this bridge is. You know, if there's some sand or dirt, I feel like that's probably typical behavior. And it's unsettling that there is no sand or dirt on this bridge. So just a little bit, just the tiniest bit.
So you sort of sprinkle it in front of you, and there's no Elden Ring go fuck yourself vibe where they move and serpentine twist the invisible bridge. That got me good. It is it's pretty much a straight shot. This is just more of a deterrent, especially for those that are coming the opposite direction, especially those that are unfamiliar with the Drow and their dark bridges. You make your way across. It's long, dude. I mean, quarter of a mile, third of a mile. And as you're going across this cavern, it's different. I mean, so much of your solo missions have been above ground, which, granted, isn't like where you prefer it. But as you are like moving towards this space and moving towards an area that Baron Chaina had spent a year and a half, I mean, a good amount of time, there's a melancholy rising and a small seed of anxiety at what you might discover. However, soon enough, you make your way across. You do see that there is a, so sorry, where are you? You do see that there is another kind of large lip. And you step out from this invisible bridge onto this large, I mean, it's about, 120 by about 30 feet, this cavern. Make a perception check.
All right, 28.
28? Cool. So as you are kind of stepping, from imagine like more or less like one side, long bridge, other side, right? You've now made it onto this other side. And as you're pressing in, you see almost like a cave entrance. Like it's low, about 8-9 feet. It appears to be naturally formed. It doesn't appear to be like, a relief of any kind. But it does open up into a larger space within. You take that to be, presumably, the Sanctuary of Cierre.
Gotcha. I'll head in.
Okay. You step in. I'm going to go ahead and move us back into the D&D combat, just for reference. But as you step into this space, with that 28, it's a very unique energy. A large floor-length mirror, about 10, 11 feet tall. Flanked on either side of it are empty stone braziers, like empty kind of steel bowls. And across from the mirror is a larger brazier. There are pathways running east and west, and there are bridges running more or less, southeast or southwest.
And just to be clear, because this is a Sanctuary of Cierre, but I've never been here before.
Never in your life.
And this is like something that the Drow used to traverse, but now they've kind of abandoned it because of the wards of Silverymoon. But we're coming to take it back. And so the only people, presumably, that have been here in recent years is Baron Chaina and crew. Okay, so there's not a whole lot of information. I don't necessarily know which direction is safe, what traps are here, what the braziers might do. I don't really know any of this. It's kind of been not been handed down.
Okay. I think Baron Chaina, I think you knew that a lot of Baron Chaina's goal was setting up this explosive powder, bringing down the wards, right? But a lot of why they sent a mage was, some version of you guys being interested in, hey, if the fiends of hell are moving, maybe you guys just bypass us and go all the way to the surface. And that had been something he had spoken about.
So it's like almost creating a funnel for the fiends of hell that were a threat to us and still are technically.
Exactly.
But just to let them bypass us using the Sanctuary of Cierre to do that?
Totally. In some way, shape, or form. I mean, either by summoning them directly or giving them some sort of passageway. Almost like floodwater being rerouted to prevent a dam breaking, that kind of thing.
Gotcha. Okay. And you said this is a mirror? This is
Correct.
a mirror?
Yeah.
Can I just look in it?
Sure.
Look in the mirror. See what I see.
Sure.
Is it just my reflection?
There is no reflection.
There's no reflection.
Make either an Arcana check or a Religion check if you'd like.
Let's go Arcana 13.
Cool. You see runic scroll work around the circumference of this oval mirror. Hard for you to make it out. Some of it is in Underdark, sort of deep speech, which you don't know. Some of it is in Elvish, which you do.
Do I know Baranchena's handwriting at all?
Yeah, I think so.
Would I recognize if this is his work?
It is.
It is his work. So knowing that this might be a potential part of his early plan to divert demons, this could be. I may not want to fuck with this mirror because demons could come through as was originally intended, and it's just we're waiting for that go ahead. So I'm not gonna mess with this.
Cool.
Just yet. And by the arrangement of these braziers, I'm assuming that's the same. So I'm taking a path. I'm just gonna keep moving forward. Which direction? There's so many to choose from. Do I see, I don't know, footsteps in the dust? Anything like that?
Yeah, make another perception check.
Ooh, this one's not as good. 14.
Yes, it is definitely traversed. It's hard to kind of separate all of them. One thing that really jumps out to you about this space is as you move around it, there's a fair amount of like stone, dust, some loose earth, right? But like whenever you were looking for like sand, what you really just grabbed was like rocks. It was sort of like dry rock, right? Like shale coming off from a larger brittle piece of shale. This area, really right about like, oh, excuse me, wrong thing, right about here. Oh, that's not it. Sorry. This. Really right about here-ish. Little bit larger than that. But you see it like clearly on the ring, where it kind of stops from this sort of gummy, sort of like murky, occasionally like coagulated, almost like dropping a piece of like chewing gum on a baseball field, something like that. However, it's everywhere. And it leads you to believe that there was like, almost feels like oil, blood, something viscous like that has spread, dried, and is noticeably tacky and significantly different than the regular dust. There are a couple footprints that are almost like perfectly trapped. Like you would like lift a footprint from a crime scene. Leads you to believe this substance was extremely sticky or extremely soft and hard. Unclear. But it is hard to get a feel. There are a fair number of different sized humanoid tracks.
But I know Baranchena came in here with a crew.
Mm-hmm.
And I didn't see any tracks leading away off of one of these 4 potential routes.
Well, I kind of treated it with that rule like you were going pretty much like everywhere that has been revealed on the map. More like kind of, you know what I mean? Like sort of scoping it, kind of scoping it. With the 13 and with the nature of the space and just the history of it, there's tracks everywhere, dude. Like, it's clear, like it clearly like was, like heavily trafficked.
This was a work site.
Yeah.
Okay. Do I see any blood? You said there was. There's this sticky, gummy surface. Is that flesh, blood?
Make a nature check.
12.
Cool. Just needed a 10. It is blood.
It's blood. Okay. All right. Something might have gone down here. Maybe something went wrong. Maybe I will have to go through this demon portal here. But first, we're going to do power of elimination. We're going to go to the right.
Cool.
I'm bringing up my pointer right over here. This little right area. My first right.
Love it. Cool. Okay.
Let's just go exploring.
You have chosen wisely.
As you make your way into this space, sorry. Oh. Hang on one sec. Fuck. Sorry, buddy. Here we go.
Oh, good.
Okay, God, that was weird. This is really taking so long to cut. I don't understand.
It's in pieces.
Okay. Okay, let me just try this again. Christ alive. Hold up.
Oh, good.
Oh, shit. Did I just take everything away? Yeah, okay, hold up.
I'm zooming out because I see a little monster thing.
Yeah. And that's okay. He's not moving.
Oh.
Yeah, all right, that's fine. Well, it's because I had like a ton of fog, and then I recreated some. Apologies. Like, I haven't touched this map since the party. Well, yeah, whatever. Okay, so.
I mean, let's face it, there were footprints and bloody stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of shit going down. Okay,
Cool.
so you this splits, but it goes more or less the same way. As soon as you head this way, you smell it. It smells almost like an aquarium. I mean, it's very, very swampy. That kind of like grody sludge meets like moss, meets a little bit of like fungal rot. But this is, I mean, cranked up to 100. It's rotted. As you step through this space, you see the decomposing body of an ancient Zorn. An enormous maw spread out. It appears to have been driven through with some sort of bladed weapon, slashing weapon. You do see numerous strips, almost like as if someone began to butcher the corpse of it, and then gave up, thought better of it. Give me a perception or investigation check as you roll into this space.
Cool. That's good. We'll go perception of 27.
Very cool. Okay. So you walk into this space, and you see this Zorn. Behind it are the heads of several dragons.
Well,
One, an ancient white dragon. The other, an ancient red. The other, an ancient blue. And then lastly, smaller than all of them, a copper dragon. Within the actual sort of terraced kind of cascading layers of this pool, which still moves, you see the body of this Zorn, right? Kind of on the lowest level. You see, like, savagely, like, forever imprinted in his flesh, like his flesh has grown around it, the imprint of chains, of manacles.
manacles on the Zorn.
Yes.
Okay.
And then to the
and
north, and then just lastly to the northwest, you see a study. Some idle bits of paper, but it looks extremely clean swept. That's over here.
Yep.
Lastly, I will say that there is a chest here.
Closed? Open?
Closed.
Before I mess with that chest, I wanna. You said. Let me write this down. What you said? A copper, blue, red, and what
white.
was the other one?
Yeah.
Red,
I'm realizing
red,
it's
white,
like it's,
blue.
yeah, that was completely unintentional. Yes, and then copper. Yeah.
All right, cool. Red, white, blue, copper. Do I recognize Wait, first of all, are these dragons, are they carvings? Are they
Yeah.
like realistic?
They are extremely realistic, but they're clearly reliefs. They have been carved out of the stone. Yeah.
And they're how high above the water?
Not that high. I mean, like, the water keeps going up, but from
it's
where
in
you're
tiers?
from where you're standing, exactly. But from where you're standing, it's 2-3 feet above you. It's about 7-8 feet off the ground. Only about 4 feet off the surface of this pool.
My other character, Tall, would have been really impressed with the tears of water. So, do I get any sense from the looking at the copper dragon that I might have visited this creature's little chambers in the past when I found a hoard of ancient copper coins that I think I lost. I actually can't remember if I kept those or if I gave them away when I was hanging with the party.
I don't know. You definitely
know what?
You threw some into the face of Errol Glaive. I remember that.
That happened, yeah. I remember that.
I think you
I
kept
just don't
the
remember
rest
if
for
I
yourself.
kept them. Yeah, okay. I've still got those then.
No, it this is not the same space.
It was a bag of holding full of copper coins.
Oh, bro, it was. Yes. So I guess you still have that.
So I might still have them.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Cool.
This is not
Yeah,
that.
do I get the sense? It's not that. Okay.
Now, however, how many copper dragons have you ever come across?
That's a good point. There might be more than one. That would make sense. There's not just one of each color. It's not like that in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, I'm gonna look through some of these notes and scrolls
Sure.
and see if there's anything. Is this Baronchina's workstation maybe?
It is.
Doing something funky here? What?
Because of the sort of turned over nature, I mean, like the actual artwork in this map is misleading in terms of how much is left. You do find like several torn pieces of paper, and then kind of behind the desk is sort of a crumpled up, almost like it was like the beginning of a letter. It's absolutely Baronchina's handwriting. There is nothing of like relative value. One of them appears to be almost like geographical, almost like he's like plotting like latitude, longitude, perhaps relative to his task, perhaps relative to the surface above. But by and large, this desk has been cleaned out.
So yeah, something's happening. Either it was a quick escape on Baronchina and crew's part, or they've been captured or hurt or something like that. Can I go back to the Zorn for a second?
Sure.
Pull out the strips that I took, the
Sure.
Zorn strips, and match them. See if these strips match the markings on the Zorn, as if they've been harvested from this specific
Sure.
Zorn.
Takes you a moment. I mean, there's so much like gore and so much that's been kind of butchered. But make a nature check for me.
8.
Cool. As you sort of move through it, you pull out these strips. It's a little bit. At first, you're like, "Oh, it does, dude. It fits." But then you kind of realize that there's multiple areas that it could fit. And as you're sort of moving, you're a little bit afraid of falling prone to your own confirmation bias. You simply don't know. There's no doubt that what you hold in your hand are strips of Zorn. And there's no doubt that the corpse of this ancient elemental resting, half butchered in the sort of low-lying pool in front of you, is also a Zorn. Is it the same? Unknown. A fair conclusion to make, but one you can't confirm or deny.
All right. I'm gonna head up to the chest.
Okay.
I'm gonna check it for traps.
Okay. Roll an investigation check for me.
Baronchina might have been keeping something really important here. Investigation 17.
As you sort of examine it, you're primarily focused on the actual lid and lip of this chest, the lock mechanism, the mechanical interaction therein. And as you sort of examine it, especially from the standpoint of, is this trapped? I mean, you know Baronchina to be a extremely guarded individual. I mean, one that, I mean, it took you a long time before you guys were even sending stone messages that weren't strictly business. You find nothing mechanical. However, this was a mage. And there's the hair raising up on the back of your neck as you find nothing that gives you cause for alarm, and yet you are not fully devoid of your concern. With a 17.
Yeah. Let's pick their lock.
Okay.
I didn't see any keys in his workspace or any
Sure.
unlocking mechanisms. Right?
So make a dexterity check and add your proficiency bonus as you use your thieves' tools.
Dexterity check. Plus proficiency. This is good. 23.
Okay. Easy enough. It does take you a while because you're extremely cautious. Again, not sure of the actual setup of this chest. But as you feel the first, the second, the third pin and bearing fall into place, you twist the very edge and you use this sort of mirror to see slides. You hear the deep sound within this chest of something unlocking. You feel like you've done it.
Let's open it.
As you open it, make a wisdom saving throw.
Yeah, there it is. There it is. Whee! Only an 11, but
Okay.
if this is some kind of charm effect, I have advantage. So that's a
It is a magical effect, but it is not a charm effect.
not a charm. Yeah. Okay.
So, interesting moment in time. Interesting.
Interesting.
For as you crack open the very top of this chest, it feels similar, like wash of coldness to whenever you had the teleportation circle brought forward. There's just as your vision washes over and you feel your body tumbling in freefall.
What the?
It's disorienting. You feel like you're falling again and again. That moment of like fighting for balance and losing it happens 10 times, 20, 50. You land with a thud, taking 1 point of bludgeoning damage. And sorry, I'm just having trouble finding the actual map.
Oh, good.
Shit.
We're off the map.
You off the map, baby boy. Stand by.
And
You know what? This will make it a little bit easier. Let me kick it back here.
We're back in the Crone's Tower. Oh my god.
That'd be so good. Okay, bear with me.
Sure.
Oh, I know what I did. Got it. That's fine. Okay. Cool. Yes. Okay, look away, brother.
Look it away.
Look away. So funny. I of course did not. I was like, well, that might happen, but he's not gonna fall into it. And yet here we are.
I'm not no wise saves on this.
Here
little
we
girl.
are. Okay. Sick. This is so wild. I did not think this was gonna happen.
Brand new territory.
You find yourself in freefall. And as that sort of bizarre sensation of, falling, right? And then like catching your balance and then falling again. It's almost like it resets itself, like you're in this loop. Like you're almost falling forwards or backwards in time.
In time? In time? Am I gonna meet myself as a really old crone? Is that what's gonna happen? That was me.
That
all
was
along?
you. That was you at the start of the session. Funny. Okay, I'm almost there. I just forgot I had to prep all of this because I don't want to give it away. Also, my owlbear is like crawling because I'm sharing the stream. It's very funny.
Oh yeah.
I didn't anticipate that.
Yeah.
Like,
you're
I edit, like,
putting
4K,
your
no
Mac to
problem.
its paces.
Exactly, it really is. It's all good though. Matt, this has been so great. Well, we're gonna see what happens. Shit, where is he? Hang on.
We're not going into the mirror today. No. Let's go inside the chest.
Exactly. Exactly. Okay, so. Shibbity beep 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 beep. You land.
Yeah, I land.
And as you hit the ground. Fuck.
Horrifying.
You see almost like a vacuous, shadowy shape, like an ethereal form across the way. He's about 20, 25 feet away from you. A dwarf.
Dwarf.
Long beard. Eyes that at first appear devoid of actual eyeballs. Nothing but empty sockets before you see sort of shifting almost here and then gone and then there and then gone and then back again. Spectral eyes coming and going.
They have forgotten their names. They have forgotten their names.
Is it looking at me?
Yes, it's walking towards you as well.
It's walking towards me. About 5 days ago, I was hanging out with those 5 pillars. There was a battle happening. And a dwarf, just kind of like almost a spectral type of dwarf, appeared out of nowhere for a while. I believe. I think it was like a pirate or something. Is this the same dwarf or a different dwarf? Does that ring any bells?
Now, remind me who we're talking about? You're talking about at the, just above table real quick. At the actual...
outside of... Can I look at the owlbear, by the way, or is it still...
Yes. You can look at the owlbear.
Okay.
You can look at the owlbear.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. So outside of the the Tomb of Decanthar,
Sure.
Before we found the entrance, there was a whole battle, some stairways open between the 5 pillars.
Sure.
But at one point, Errol Glavetray brought in some kind of like ghostly...
Yes.
I thought it was a dwarf.
Now he had cast greater invisibility on himself, is what was going on in that situation. But but yes, it was a dwarf warlock. Unfortunately, he was like immediately killed before any of his storyline came into
so
play.
that was just part of Errol Glavetray's crew.
Correct.
I got it. I didn't know if that was like a summoned. I never.
No,
figured out
he
what
was
that was
blood and flesh. He had an invisibility spell. You saw him die a savage death. Yeah.
Totally different thing than this.
Yeah.
Got it.
This guy is apparently a fucking ghost. I mean, this dude is certainly a dwarf, but everything about him is, spectral. Appears to be halfway there.
They have forgotten their name.
He takes another step towards you.
I'm here to help with that, young dwarf.
Come.
Who are they?
They were the ancient delvers of Saloon.
You immediately recognize Saloon. There was, on one of the 5 pillars that erupted above the tomb, the crescent and 7 stars of Saloon, the goddess of the astral plane, the goddess of the night sky. Very much an enemy and a foe of Scaravan, no question. You see this dwarf kind of leads you back.
Sure.
And he leads you to where these, on sort of the southern side of this like weird like hexagonal grid, it almost looks like open graves that have been dug. In yellow on the owlbear is what's actually inlaid on almost like stone markers or cairns. But you see Roman numerals. He then leads you back over and is essentially like,
They sought to go into the darkness, into the shadow itself. But they went so dark that they forgot their name.
He then turns to this sort of stack of skulls and sits down next to them.
I presume this is who he's talking about. How many skulls? There are 9 skulls. Owlbear. And I'm seeing a grid. Am I seeing a grid layout like on the ground?
You are
with these-
seeing a 4x4 grid that is almost like these shallow graves with sort of pathways in between them. On the northern and the eastern side, there are almost like stone markers, almost like headstones, but they're not as developed, that have Roman numerals carved into them.
Yes. 1, 2, 3, and 3. 1, 2, 3, and 3. Are the graves empty?
Yes.
And there's 16 of them. The graves, the open
Yes.
graves. Okay. 16 graves, 9 skulls. There's a pile of skulls on my owlbear up north on fire.
Yeah, that's just
That-
color. Yeah.
Just color. Cool. Some flavor. Okay. Did these wanderers leave their sleeping beds? Referencing the graves.
He goes, yes. They stepped outside and now cannot return their place of rest. They have forgotten their names.
How might we discover these names? I don't see any evidence of text of what their names actually are anywhere, right? Just Roman numerals on markers. That's the only text I'm seeing.
Correct. As he sits there, he is almost like moving through these skulls. He picks one up and examines it, almost like he's trying to recognize it. He flips it over top to bottom, bottom to top.
I have forgotten their names.
He sets one down and picks up another, and again sort of examines it. I mean, it's not like a Macbeth kind of thing. I mean, it's like literally he's like searching. He's like desperate for any spark of remembrance. Instead of setting this one down, he hands it to you.
Yeah, can I grab it and
Sure.
inspect it?
Sure.
See if there's any markings on these things.
Roll an investigation check. We'll consider this like you examining like this and sort of all of them.
Ooh, not good. Investigation 3.
3, okay. Dude, that's so funny. I also run a rogue with no investigation.
Yeah.
I mean, they're skulls. There's no doubt about that. Some of them are different sizes. I mean, none of them are uniform. In terms of markings, communications, sigils, runes, there's nothing. Some are in better shape than others, but
Do any of these skulls... And is this representative of the number of skulls? Like there are 9?
yeah.
Okay. Do any of these look like children's skulls?
Yeah.
How many?
How many look that way?
Look like a child's skull.
Oh, wait a minute. I forgot. There's supposed to be something on here, I think.
Okay.
I fucked this up. How many look like children?
Sure, yeah.
3 of them.
Just 3 childlike skulls. And am I smart enough to know that these aren't like gnome or small races? These are definitely children? Or am I unsure if they could be gnomes or smaller races?
Cool. Got it. Ask me again, I'm sorry.
Yeah, these 3 childlike skulls, am I smart or clever enough to know that these are children's skulls, or could they possibly be gnome skulls or other small races? Or do
I think without a nature check or survival check, it'd be hard to say.
Be hard to say. All right. Looking at the graves, do I see any childlike graves? Any smaller size?
All of the graves are uniform.
They're all uniform. Okay, unhelpful. There's nothing in any of these graves, just empty. Are there at least coffins, open coffins, or is it just empty dirt?
It's empty dirt. It's very shallow.
It's all shallow, empty dirt. No structures to these. Can I look around just for any other... Actually, can I inspect these stone inscription things that have the
Sure.
Roman numerals? See if
Sure.
there's anything else on those.
I'd say just with like your resting perception, you're able to sort of move through these. As you kind of head up to the northernmost part, you're kind of looking, you're like, okay, 1, 3, 2, 3, all right, 3, 2, 1, 3, fucks up with this. You head to the stack, and it's almost like it's like a fire made of bone. It doesn't like fully consume, it doesn't appear like it's becoming combustible, but there's something a little unsettling, something like borderline macabre, eternal flame-esque about this. You see written, and as you begin reading it, you hear the voice of Ezreth from the southern side of this grid.
Brave warriors have met their demise foretold. The secret kept may still yet unfold if crowns placed correctly upon the shrine. Celestial beds for 4 of 9. They have forgotten their names.
Rounds placed correctly. 4 of 9.
You see him starting to go around the side of this and again trudging, closing the distance between the two of you.
And the pile of skulls in front of me is just an eternal flame
Correct.
setup. How many? Can I tell how many skulls are part of that?
It's kind of irrelevant, but it's
Irrelevant.
I mean, an allotment, however many that it is, 15.
Sure. Do I see any crowns anywhere?
You don't. You can make an insight check if you'd like, or you can make another perception check looking around.
I'll do insight. Maybe see what the hell he's talking about. That's a 13.
On the inside?
Yes.
Weird fucking dude. I mean,
dude.
you're more or less going looking for your drow boyfriend, who's also a critical member of a military task force that is absolutely pivotal in whether or not your race of people succeeds and continues to live or not. As you sort of ventured into this space, sacred to Scaravan, the god that you worship, you saw a chest that was, previously under the, guideship of Baron Chaina. As you opened it and failed this wisdom save, you were ripped into this pocket dimension. Only people there appear to be you and this spectral fucking dwarf, who really is kind of like a broken record going on about these names. You see no crowns, but you do see skulls.
All right. I'll go back to the skulls.
Sure.
Do these look fresh or old?
Old.
Good. So not Baron Chaina and crew. Especially because he didn't bring children. I will take, let's go with the closest one, and I'm
Cool.
going to toss it into the grave.
Okay.
This closest grave.
Where do you want to put it? That one right there?
Yeah, so
Sick.
one, column 3, row 1. I guess second column 3.
So you're going to put it right here.
Yeah, I'm just going to kick it in.
Cool.
Did anything happen?
See him sort of turn, be like, no! There's this gathering of like pale blue energy. He holds up what is more or less like a war hammer. It gathers this light before it shoots out towards you. Damn, 25.
Yeah, that'll hit me.
He hits you for 18 points of force damage. You can use your reaction to have it, of course.
Oh yeah. Okay, wait. Yeah, an uncanny
Right.
dodge. Yeah, because this isn't an evasion thing, because I don't have that yet. But I
And
can
he comes up.
Uncanny dodge.
No. That was not their name.
You're right. What a mistake. And I will pull. Oh, he pulled it out?
Yeah, he pulled it out. He like kicked
My
it off.
apologies. Once it's out, is he still in attack mode, or
No.
is he kind of?
You see him almost like then start like obsessing over the skulls. He again sits down cross-legged, examines one for quite some time before setting it down and moving to the next.
Young dwarf, why do you inspect these skulls so closely?
It was I that led them down here, into the darkness, seeking to drive the scorpion back. But I delved too deep. The darkness swallowed us. And here I have lain so long that I have forgotten their name.
Do you remember your name?
He looks at you. And again, it's like empty fucking socket with almost like a halogen light that kicks in and off, where occasionally the irises and the eyeballs are there and then gone, then there, then gone.
I am Ezroth, beholden of Saloon. I am the delver and he who seeks. And yet I cannot remember their names.
He starts like sort of moving through them again, concerned, distracted, unsure.
Did you dig these graves, Ezroth?
Aye.
Is one of these graves for you?
No. Though I may come to need one soon.
And you can tell, like, this dude's dead. Like, need one soon? This guy's a ghost. This guy's a ghost.
Long past. Do these companions here in front of you, do they belong in these graves?
Aye.
Which goes where? Crowns placed correctly, 4 of 9. Crowns placed. Which 4 of these 9 deserve the crown?
You see him examining one, and he kind of like starts to hand it to you, and he's like, no. He lifts up another and examines it. And as he looks back to you, realizing he's unable to answer your question, you feel this cold weight, and it dawns on you, Cierre, that this dwarf may have been down here for centuries. Hundreds and hundreds of years. You know very little of pocket realms, but you know, like most other dimensions, that time can flow differently. And I think it worries you.
I'm gonna look around. Is this just an open field? Open land, piece of land? No.
You walk
nothing.
the distance of it, and as you sort of move towards the space, I mean, it feels very like marshy, like wear lights and sort of strange kind of, you know, where the light is coming from is unclear, yet there is dim light. As you sort of move around it, there is sort of, you know, very dry, brittle, like tall grass Some of the ground is overly moist and bog-like, kind of like I mentioned. But as you get to the edges of the map, it's almost like reaching the edge of a video game. There's sort of like a cloudy, invisible end to it. You try to step forward and simply cannot. As you physically like move forward to step, it's as if your body slides backward and the step lands again at the edge of the map. Make a perception check for me.
13.
13, cool. You look around, and your pulse is starting to rise. I mean, there's a little bit of that, like, fuck, this is not what I'm supposed to be doing, right? Like, it's not why I'm here. This is not what I'm supposed to be doing. At the same time, this was Baron Chaina's chest.
Yeah, and
right?
He's not here. I've
Exactly.
looked around.
Where the fuck is he? Why was he here? What was this used for? Was it a cachet? Was it a trap? Like, what is this, right? With that 13, you do see an area here. What the fuck? Cool. Laser pointer's been weird, but you can see it. That is almost like fresh turned earth. It looks almost like a different, almost like a 7x12, 7x14 rectangular prism that definitely appears different than the rest of the space. I would also say with that 13, you can notice that's like literally almost exactly where you are now. About 15, almost 20 feet up. There's a hole.
Hole.
This is the top of the chest.
Oh. I can see out of the chest. It's just in the sky.
Correct. As you opened this thing and failed the wisdom saving throw, you did not shut the chest, but you were teleported within this pocket dimension within it.
They have forgotten their name.
Yeah. They've forgotten their names. I'm gonna check the 7x14.
Sure.
Just to see what that fresh earth is.
Describe to me what you're doing.
So is it like a mound of fresh earth? Fresh dirt?
Yeah, kind of.
I will I'll start by just kicking away at it with my the tip of my boot.
You start kicking away at it, and first couple kicks, it's like boom, boom, boom. And as you bring your foot back for now the fourth kick, the mound is exactly as it was before your first kick. You can't even pull back the kick before it happens. You slap into it, sends dirt flying out of the way, but you're like, fuck was that? About 10 seconds go by. The dirt is back where it was.
Ezroth, what is it you're looking for on these skulls?
To lay my conscience to rest with them. I tracked them too deep. Only I should have paid for it. And yet here I am, the only one to remember my name.
This have... How many names were on the list of true names? Could I see, like, on that little 3x6 stone index tablet?
You know,
Like, is it...
it was tough. I mean, you were able to determine what it was because of what you were looking for. It was somewhere between like 5 and 10. But it was almost like whenever you're reading a different language and you struggle with grammar, kind of separating where one name began and the other ended was challenging. And that's also a significant part of what umbrage, you can tell, has been running into. I will say, for intents and purposes, you have essentially fallen into a trap. Unfortunately, it was one that was set up by your lover. But it was a trap nonetheless. It is... Ezroth is not hostile to you. You get the feeling to get what he wants, to get, what whatever the fuck he's trying to get, which is sort of these skulls laid to rest, that there is a risk. I mean, he blasted you with force energy.
Yeah, but I gotta choose wisely.
There's that too. There's also the ability
To go out the hole.
to go out the hole. Exactly. Unfortunately, it would probably take your potion of fly.
Yeah. Yeah, I considered that, and I'm holding that option. I'm gonna take one of those skulls,
Sure.
and I'm gonna toss it into another. Actually, I'm gonna hold it out over it and see how. Okay, so I'm gonna grab. Does it matter which skull I grab? Probably. I'm gonna grab the biggest skull.
Cool.
There's only 3 small ones. Are there 4 that look alike? Like, one of these things is not like the other. Are there 4 of those?
You know, there are small differences to the size, like you might expect in sort of, different humanoid, experience.
Yep.
But other than the 3 that are clearly children,
Yep.
they're all
There's
pretty
not
comparable.
4 that are the same race or anything?
There's not any that appear. It's really hard for you to tell the race.
Yeah. Okay. Then I'll just grab the biggest one.
Cool.
Because why not? Big creatures become royalty sometimes. And then I'm gonna walk over to number 3x3
Cool.
because of this little grid.
And show me where it's going
There's-
with your pointer.
I'm gonna go here.
Cool.
Of this grid, there's only 4 squares that line up to have the same columns and rows.
So you pick up this skull.
Yeah, I'm just holding it over first. I want to get his reaction.
Oh, okay. He has no reaction. He doesn't even, whenever you pick up the skull, there's no reaction. You walk over to it and you hold it over the space. And he still has just gone and is sitting there cross-legged, examining these skulls.
I drop it.
Yathar, Prince of Saloon, Shield of Light, I remember you now.
And nothing happens.
Great. Let's grab another one. The next biggest.
Very well. So you walk over, you grab a skull. Where are you placing it?
3x3 up here.
Okie dokie. As you walk over, you again hold out this skull 3-4 feet above this kind of open kind of mouth in the dirt. You look over to Ezroth, whatever's left of this destroyed spectral rot dwarf. There's no reaction. You drop it.
Magdalene, Priestess of Light, Hand of Saloon, I remember.
I'll go over. I will grab 2 more skulls at the same time. The next biggest ones.
Sure.
I will stand right here. And I will simultaneously toss one here and one here.
Sick. You see, as soon as it tossed,
Cesar, Benada, Children of Light, Son of the Moon, I remember.
and as these 4 skulls get appropriately laid to rest, 2 things happen. One, there is a well. First off, there's a dun 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 straight out of Zelda.
I was hoping for that.
But as you sort of toss the first one down in the second, and you're sort of bracing, waiting if this dwarf is again going to like blast you out the chest, you see an unfurled rope descend from the space at the topmost of this chest. There's also a tremor and a trembling. You look over to that 7x14 space of dirt that you had examined, that you had tried to remove dirt from, that had been replaced as quickly as you were removing it. It shakes briefly. See it almost vibrating.
4 of 9. What will come of the other 5?
Shall we lay them to rest as well?
Well, as you're sort of considering that, and as Ezroth sort of, spills forth this prose about these men and women that he'd long thought lost by his own reckless desire to press ever deeper in the name of Saloon, I think we'll call it there, Maddie.
Okay.
We were going to go to 3:30. Appreciate you rolling through.
Yeah.
This just means
Great.
we're going to have you back on, and we'll sort it out.
I'm going to find all the pockets.
Yeah. But, dude, thank you so much for this, man. Yeah, it's been super duper fun to kind of, just stream some sessions. And for any chat joining us, what's up, man? Good seeing you, Prince. Cierre is an NPC in my campaign that I had worked out for a good while that was doing this, that, and the other, but eventually was coming on a crash course with the party. And whenever Cierre was going to come and make her first appearance, I asked Matt to play her. So it was a really fun moment, at least for me, in terms of, giving you like a 2-page backstory or whatever, being like, this is who you are, go nuts. Yeah. And, Matt's a fabulous actor, a fabulous voice actor. And
it was so strange too, because I was so nervous about stepping on your toes in terms of what objectives you needed fulfilled. I was like, I'm gonna do this wrong, because it's almost like I'm co-DMing because I'm putting the players through stuff. Yeah. And I was like, I don't know if he's treating it that way. He might just want the character to live freely and do what they're gonna do.
That's exactly what I did. Yeah.
Yeah,
and you did, dude. It was
wild.
So sick. It was really fun. So appreciate that, man. Yeah, it was super fun, man. And Cierre is has a disguise kit. Came in disguise. There was a lot that was going on, but ultimately left with a very powerful artifact that my campaign and party needs. So this was an opportunity to kind of pick up with him. We haven't played since the very end of February, and essentially it is actively happening at the same time as my other campaign. So
pretty wild.
Thank you so much.
It's nerve-wracking. It is nerve-wracking to be a lone wolf in a D&D world. This is the first time I've done that.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh my god, other people have parties and backup, and I'm like, I've got a couple of.
You were solo bolo. Yeah. We began the session with him in a Crone's Tower. I really thought that you might meet your death there. It was definitely going to be a deadly encounter.
I was ready for some persuasion talk. I was going to start trading my services. I mean, obviously this person needs ingredients. I'm an acquirer of things. Need things. I was ready for that if I got discovered, but
that is so damn good. That is so damn good. Oh man.
Yeah. Bypass that, and then all of a sudden I'm in a pocket dimension with some other old crone.
D&D is riddled with old people just trying to take your life. Yeah. Is really frequently how it goes down.
Trying to get theirs back.
Maddie, thank you so much for that, dude. Chad, thank you so much for rolling through. I'm actually going to be streaming with Mim on Wednesday. We're going to be doing another episode of Between Two DMs. It's going to be super rad. I think if it's cool with you, Matt, we might try to do this again next Monday, dude.
Cool. Yeah.
If it works, and we'll sort that out. But I want to get you caught up, because there's going to be something that we need to sort out within about 2-3 weeks relative to the party. So a little bit of a shorty. And dude, Root, thank you so much for rolling through. We this is the first time I've really tried to play. Mim is coming in. He's going to be a guest on Between Two DMs. So I'm really pumped to rap about Jeef and Latte and just really everyone's campaign there. It's I've listened to some of the live play sessions. It's been super duper fun. But Between Two DMs hopefully is a way to platform a DM and also learn from them and kind of be like, hey man, like how do you do prep? How do you approach session 0? You know, how do you go about it? Because the entire reason that I wanted to start a Twitch channel was to make DMing more accessible, less gatekeepery, and less mysterious, because it's super fun, super uplifting, but can seem really abstract and hard to pull off. So anyway, Matty, you're the man, dude. This was really necessary for me to make sure that we could do this. We're going to be back next Monday, and we're going to finish Cierre's arc in the Underdark and in the Sanctuary of Scaravan. And I hope you guys can join. And if not, Chief, Root, whoever, Legends, roll through Wednesday. We are going to be doing a session of between 2 DMs. Now, Matthew, I have never tried to do this with a guest because I want to essentially go and raid another channel. So guys, anyone that's down to hang out, to like, you know, hang around, that's how I actually met Jeef, Latte, and Mim. It was like incredibly uplifting to me. Appreciate the suggestion, Root. Thank you for that. But I have just honestly forgotten to do that almost every fucking time. Like every time I stream, I get done, I'm like, ah, cool, all right, great. Oh, I forgot to raid somebody. So we're gonna do it today. We're gonna raid somebody. I have no idea who this person is. I think I'm gonna go after my girl, guy, Doogie. They are streaming Dungeons and Dragons. Wait a minute. That's Dungeons and Dragons, the game. I don't want that. I want the tabletop. Hold up. Here we go. Okay, cool. Okay, so what do we think? Who should we go? The tie-dye wizard? I'm going the tie-dye wizard. Let's go.
Yeah.
Okay, Legends, thank you so much for coming through. So much love. Matt, you're a prince of peace. We're going to raid these guys, so please stick around because I want to stun on them. And then everyone else, hope to see you Wednesday. Here we go.
Let's go.
Here we go. This is truly, I have no idea how raids work. Here we go. I think it is raiding.
Yeah, don't know it's
in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. Here we go. Okay. I think we're doing it. Now, did we do it?
I don't know.
Have we done it?
Where are we?
I think so. Fuck, did we do it? I have no idea. Hold up. Are you talking to me, lover? Oh, fuck, it worked. Okay. So, are me and Matt still on? Like, what the fuck's going on?
I'm here.
Yeah.
I'm in the chill zone.
Oh, dude. Oh, sick. Okay, it worked.
Whoa.
Okay, we're in. Oh, no, they're in the middle of a game. I didn't mean to do this. Oh, well. Whatever, that's fine.
Party crashing? Are we party raiding?
Well, it's like, I think kind of awkward when they're in the middle of a game.
Yep.
Anyway.
A couple of orcs just stumble in.
Exactly, that's all it is. I feel like I like interrupted like someone's like birthday party. Oh my god, that's so funny.
Dude, depending on what age they're celebrating, that could be a blast.
Oh, Maddie, that was so much fun, dude.
Yeah, dude. Dude, I loved it.
Like, that was super rad. I like, we of course started getting like a bunch of viewers in the final 30 minutes, but
Sure.
You know, like, it is what it is, dude. I like that. That was tough because I knew as we opened up the map, I was like, oh fuck, I forgot about that trap. And so like, that was honestly hard for me because I realized about halfway through that honestly you should have probably descended and seen it already resolved because the party went down there and investigated. But
they did the thing.
Exactly.
It might reset. It reset.
That's what I'm saying. Like, it seemed like something I was like, well, you know, it is a pocket dimension, blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
So, anyway, dude, this was super fun. Like, I've really wanted to be streaming actual stuff because I think it can be a little bit more of like show the brand. And, you know, my goal hopefully is to like at minimum stream our like final episode of our campaign. You know what I mean? And I've mentioned it to Brian where it's like I would love, I mean, I think that even higher calling is like we shoot it live and like do it live, you know, together. But all of it is just sort of learning the software, like how it works, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, and doing it live has its own technical stuff where you got to get everyone properly mic'd, all that feedback business. Got to have a mixing board.
Yeah.
All that good stuff. Here's Alex.
He escapes this house.
Okay,
At all.
I'm leaving
It
too.
is
I'm
the
like,
warmest house I've ever been in my entire life.
cool. Oh, yeah. Great. Okay,
One
baby, I
of
love you.
like 3 houses I've been in my entire life.
Cool.
Not many.
Matt says what up, by the way.
Yo, what up?
And yes,
Sorry, missed that.
Dude, this was, hold on, my screen's about to turn off.
Yeah, sick. Let's go.
Fair enough.
Oh, sweet. Okay, I love you guys. I think I need to get out of here. I don't really know how it works. I love you guys. Peace.